Hi there. I'm Chris Metzler, one of the programmers here at SF Indie Fest Green Film Festival of San Francisco. Thank you for joining us. As you can see, we're still kind of in the middle of kind of pandemic programming, so it's kind of a mixture of different programming, and we've had the chance to kind of run across this really great film, Built to Burn, that you've just had a chance to see. And we're lucky enough to have filmmaker Courtney Campbell here with us to kind of do a Q&A. Thanks again for being here, Courtney.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, most definitely. Unfortunately, obviously, it's a very timely film and something that's kind of outside of just being a really interesting and thought-provoking film. It's just, some of the underlying issues are just kind of important to discuss. So glad to kind of have your film as kind of a artistic catalyst to discuss that. Maybe a good way to start is what kind of launched you into making this film and knew that there was this kind of story that you wanted to tell?
Yeah, so like California and the Bay Area, Oregon has been experiencing an increase in wildfire activity year after year. Summers are getting smokier, fires are getting closer to large cities. I don't think that there's a Oregonian that's or an Oregonian family that's not affected by fires like California. Wow. Everybody breathes the smoke, it seemed like something that wasn't going away, and so I was interested in kind of doing a deep dive on the issue, kind of policy wise, and talking to folks who were really being affected by it, and see kind of what different groups and people were doing to hopefully change the trajectory of these fires, and help folks who are particularly vulnerable to these sort of catastrophic events.
Yeah. When you started making the film, and as you kind of talked to different people and got to go around, like, was there anything that kind of surprised you in the sense of like either upended your expectations or just also surprised you in the sense that you just wouldn't have kind of assumed that before starting making the film?
Yeah. I think probably the most surprising, I guess, aspect of it is just how, as a nation, there's clearly a lot of divisive issues, and people are either on one side or the other side. And with fires, it's kind of an apolitical issue almost. I mean, there's politics within it, but for the most part, in terms of people helping other people, neighbors helping neighbors, politics kind of seem to go out the window, and it's kind of just been almost a unifying sort of issue, in the sense that it's just looking out for your neighbor, looking out for just members of your community that are also facing this sort of tough situation, and also just speaks to the resiliency of just folks that are impacted by fire, and how they're just they want to rebuild their house after it burns down. They are willing to put themselves in danger to save a neighbor, to help them evacuate. So I think a lot of the goodness of humanity comes out during these sort of events.
Yeah, it's I think that's kind of a cool way to capture it, just because obviously I think that's always in need, but even more in need, I think, in these kind of times. Have you had a chance to kind of start screening the film in some of the kind of affected communities around Oregon, and like what's the kind of some of the conversations have been started there, and through those, if that has happened, through those conversations, what are some of the takeaways that like we in California might want to kind of keep in mind?
Yeah, so we have done a few screenings in towns that have been either severely impacted by fire or just peripherally impacted. And I think one of the big takeaways, at least from a micro kind of or homeowner or property manager perspective, is they don't realize how much just an individual can do, what one person can do in terms of either their own ability to maybe make their house fire safe, or reach out to groups who are there to help do this sort of work for free. hardening homes, cleaning up debris, even, being part of community-based prescribed burn associations. It's just a guy, one neighbor has a truck, another guy has some experience in fire, he's like, I got a chainsaw, just groups coming together and kind of forming their own little mini kind of mitigation crews that will go around and, help prepare people's properties and homes for the upcoming fire season.
Cool. And,
Yeah.
As you kind of were kind of pulling together this story, did you know who you wanted to talk to before you started the film, or how did you kind of find the people, and were most folks kind of like, excited to talk about it, or was there any reluctance at some point in time, I guess, in the sense of just, obviously there can be kind of trauma involved
For
with
sure.
these things.
Yeah. So in terms of, who I wanted to speak to, as I started doing the research around it, there were a few kind of, names that kept popping up in terms of, I guess, leaders in the fire world or fire community in Oregon and California, whether they were, policy experts or academic folks. A couple of the two large universities in Oregon both have really large forestry and fire programs. And they do some of the kind of, I guess, leading research around the topic. So I wanted to speak with them. I wanted to speak with, firefighters, the people that were on the front lines that were out there, doing this grueling, intense, dangerous work. And then in terms of the folks who lost their homes and, lost everything they had, those were the ones that I was always sensitive, but more sensitive to in terms of giving them space and time to process. We met some people who thought that they might be ready to talk about their experience, and we started, and it was too soon. We gave them a little more time, and never tried to push anyone to talk if they weren't, kind of comfortable with it. And one couple who lost their home, they didn't feel ready for 4 months after the fire to get back to us. And, it is a very traumatic thing. And we wanted to be sensitive to that and not kind of, shove a camera in someone's face who had just literally lost everything. So, yeah.
Well, thank you again for capturing this important story. And, for those of us that are on the audience, what are some ways we can kind of continue to follow the film and some of its efforts?
So we will be continuing, festival screenings right now. And you can go to builttoburn.doc.com for updates on screenings. We recently got educational distribution through Collective Eye, so we'll be working with them. We also have links on our website for resources to different groups who are doing prescribed burns, and links to other ways that you can, help your community stay safe and, get ready for, the upcoming fire season. I say here in California, it's a year-round thing. So always good to kind of, see what you can do and check, just check in on your neighbors, see if you can help them if you're able. And I think that's kind of the best.
Very cool. So builttoburn.doc.com. And thanks again for joining us, Courtney. And thanks. I really appreciate you being part of the festival.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us. We appreciate it.